They tell you life doesn't seek your permission before it hurts you. You are standing tall one day, and the next, some unexpected thing smashes you. Betrayal, loss, failure, humiliation. Most people flee from pain. They conceal it, curse it, or numb it. But the Stoics, they did the opposite. They embraced it. They felt that pain was not here to destroy you, but to shape you into something greater. And if you don't get this, you'll remain mired in suffering, constantly wondering why me, rather than wondering what now. Picture this. You wake up one day and it is all lost. Your job, your finances, perhaps even the people you trusted. For everyone else, that is the end. But for the Stoic, that is the start of transformation. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, had written, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The brutal reality: pain isn't your foe, it is your coach, but only if you cease fighting it. Here is the first harsh lesson. No one is owed an easy existence. Suffering isn't unjust, it is unavoidable. Epictetus, the former slave, said that it is like wishing fire not to burn, to want the world to not cause you pain. The world will burn, the world will shatter, and you can either crumble beneath it or you can emerge because of it. Which will you do? Consider all the rejections that you've experienced. Each time a person told you, you are not good enough. Did you pull back, or did you take it and use it as fuel? The Stoics would argue rejection is evidence that you are alive, that you are in the game. To them, each insult, each setback, each heartbreak was like iron meeting fire. It stung, sure, but it also made you unbreakable if you stood long enough. Here is another truth the world doesn't want to hear. Comfort weakens you. The Stoics took to training with discomfort, sleeping on the ground, wearing coarse clothes, going hungry, so that when the suffering came, they were not surprised. They were prepared. Because strength does not derive from luxury, it derives from conditioning with hardship. Pain you avoid today is weakness. You will bear tomorrow. Now let me pose this question to you. What is the hurt you've been hiding from? The recollection that scorches too much, the failure you can't confront, the one who discarded you, the shame that still hangs on. What if I told you that is where your strength lies? The Stoics would instruct. Face it, don't cringe, don't flee. Look it straight in the face and let it hone you. Seneca used to say, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. But the trick is, you have to let them. Most of us squander pain, we drown in it, we whine about it, we finger point. But you, if you are brave enough, can turn it around. That is where most folks give up. That is where they believe they're cursed. But the Stoics were smarter. Pain does not kill you. It meets you at yourself. It shows you the cracks in the armor, the illusions you brought with you, the things you thought you couldn't survive without. Pain naked you. And that is where true strength starts. Imagine a sword before it shines brightly with sharpness. It is nothing but dull metal. It must be melted, hammered, and scorched in fire. Without the fire, there is no weapon. Without the hammer, no edge. That is you. Without pain, you are dull. Without struggle, you are soft. Pain is the fire that shows you what you are made of. And here is the most cruel, most liberating truth. No one is going to save you. The Stoics didn't wait for rescue. They waited for mastery of self, in getting up even when no hand is extended down. Because if you can stand in the storm by yourself, no storm can ever conquer you again. So, when life hurts you, and it will, don't waste it. Don't numb it, don't curse it, use it. The hurt you despise today may be the very thing that readies you for the greatness ahead tomorrow. But there is something deeper, something that Stoics taught that most people disregard. They said that pain is never the issue. It is your opinion about it, you know. Pain is neutral. It is not bad or good until you name it, break your leg that hurts. Tell yourself, my life is over, that suffers. Epictetus wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Consider that. How much of your hurting is real, and how much is the narrative you create? This is the start of change. Knowing that hurt only has the power you assign it. And when you realize that, when you reclaim that power, you no longer are a victim. You become invincible. The Stoics were not emotionless. They knew the bite of grief, the pain of defeat, the heat of embarrassment. But this is their secret. They didn't end there. They asked, "What can this teach me? How can this make me stronger?" And that question, simple yet powerful, is what distinguishes the weak from the unbreakable. And perhaps today, you are in the midst of your own tempest. Perhaps life is too much to bear. But keep this in mind, the flame you despise now is forging you into something unbreakable. That is not philosophy, that is reality. And the sooner you realize it, the sooner agony releases its hold. The question is, are you ready to release comfort, release excuses, release blaming the world, and instead take the Stoic route? The route that sees pain and turns it around into strength. Because if you are, what follows will alter not only how you survive adversity, but how you emerge as a result of it. When a person you love dies, the world seems like it has collapsed upon itself. The quiet is intolerable, the memories cut like knives, and the heavy feeling in your chest prevents breathing. Most people think this sort of pain is evidence that life is unforgiving. However, the Stoics had a different perspective. They thought it was evidence that life is transitory, that none of the things you hold on to will ever be yours. And the realization, as harsh as it may sound, is the secret to unshakable strength. Marcus Aurelius, a man who buried children of his own, reminded himself every day, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. To the Stoic, every loss was a wake-up call, not a punishment. A reminder that time is precious. When pain tears away that which you love, it confronts you with a truth that most of us deny, that nothing lasts, not your health, not your success, not your love. And when you learn to accept this, you no longer squander time. You no longer take moments for granted. You no longer cling, but you begin to live with purpose, with urgency. Here is another brutal reality. Life does not owe you explanations. Things will occur that are inexplicable, betrayals without notice, accidents that don't make sense, suffering without justice. Most of us torment ourselves by asking why me, why now? But the Stoics taught that a better question is how. How will I react? How will I survive? How will I get up? Because the why might never arrive. But the how, that is yours to control. Consider all the times you've dwelled on the injustices of life. Did it cure the pain, or dig it deeper? Pain is doubled when you fight with reality. The Stoics believed in radical acceptance, not resignation, but strong clarity. To observe life as it is, not as you'd like it to be, because when you accept what you cannot change, you release the power to conquer what you can. Imagine this: a soldier fighting on the battlefield loses his shield. He can swear at the gods, break down in despair, or he can grab a spear and continue to fight. That is Stoicism. Pain steals things from you, but it never steals everything, unless you allow it now. Here is the truth nobody wants to hear. Pain reveals your character, not when it is easy, but when it breaks. Everybody can be nice when they're comfortable. Everybody can be tough when they're winning. But when you are bleeding, when you are shattered, when you have nothing left, that is when your real self is revealed. Will you fall apart? Will you get bitter, or will you rise? Even shaking with dignity. Epictetus, beaten so badly by his master that he limped for the remainder of his life, would not be defined by cruelty, he wrote. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And that is the heart of taking pain and turning it into strength. Because pain doesn't define you, your reaction does. But here is the catch. The more you struggle against pain, the tighter it has you in its grip. The Stoics likened it to quicksand. The more you struggle, the more stuck you become. But when you let go of the struggle, when you accept the fact of what is, then the burden is lifted. You cease to be pulled under, and you find yourself swimming above. So ask yourself, what ache in your life are you still fighting? What hurt are you still in denial of? Still cursing, still attempting to flee? What if, rather than resisting it, you welcomed it? What if you regarded it as training, as the very flames intended to strip away your weakness and forge your strength? Because that is what the Stoics felt. And here is something nearly nobody tells you. Sometimes the pain never really goes away. Sometimes you bear the scar for life. But the Stoics would tell you, that is the beauty of it. The scar isn't weakness. It is evidence of survival. Evidence that you were put to the test and didn't break. Evidence that you went through fire and emerged tempered. The world worships comfort. It tells you to pursue happiness, to shun discomfort, to anesthetize your wounds. But comfort never produced anything great. Only pain can change. The harsh Stoic truth is this: you can't live fully until you've suffered deeply, because pain is the gateway to wisdom, to thankfulness, to strength you never knew existed. And perhaps you are listening now, still in the midst of your suffering, still bleeding and questioning whether you will ever rise again. The Stoics would be speaking to you over the centuries. Yes, you will, because what is in the way becomes the way. The flames that are frightening to you now are the same flames that will temper your strength. There is a harsh reality about pain that the Stoics never did attempt to sugarcoat. It is not concerned with your timing, your agenda, or your aspirations. It attacks when you least suspect it, and when it does, most people break down because they never exercised for it. The Stoics exercised every day. They conditioned themselves for the worst, not because they were pessimists, but because they knew that only by confronting reality could they ever stay unbent. When reality hit, Seneca used to say, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Pessimistically worrying about future pain is a double curse. You experience it beforehand, and then again when it comes. Therefore, the Stoics prepared themselves in what they termed premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They visualized loss prior to its occurrence. They envisioned rejection, poverty, betrayal, even death. And by repeating these tragedies in the mind, they bereaved them of their potency. When suffering finally arrived, it did not come as a thief in the night. It came as an anticipated visitor, and what you anticipate, you can survive. But here is a bitter truth that no one wants to acknowledge. Pain is your best instructor. When life is nice, you hardly learn. Comfort softens you up with weakness. But when life incinerates you, when it disillusions you and steals from you what you believed you could not do without, that is when you find your secret strength. Without suffering, you would never learn the extent of your own strength. Marcus Aurelius penned, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Ponder that suffering is not a roadblock. It is the road itself. Every hurt, every rejection, every broken heart, these are not sidesteps. They are the road. And the more that you fight against traveling it, the longer that you will be lost. One more truth the Stoics accepted: pain humbles you. It takes away the arrogance, the sense of entitlement, and the fantasy of control. It assures you that you are human, vulnerable, transient, and while this may sound gloomy, it is the ground on which wisdom takes root. Because only when you admit your vulnerability can you also see your strength. Picture a tree planted in ideal conditions: full sun, unlimited water, fertile earth. It grows quickly but weakly. The first storm breaks it in two. Picture another tree planted on a rocky outcropping, battered by winds, deprived of rain, seared by the sun. It grows slowly, gnarled, wounded, but it becomes unbreakable. Suffering is that storm, that wind, that drought, and if you allow it, it will make you unbreakable as well. Here is another Stoic reality. A lot of your suffering is not from things themselves, but from the way you are judging them. Epictetus wrote, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." You get fired. One man is thinking this is the end of the world, another the start of something new. The experience is the same, but the interpretation makes all the difference. The mind, not the situation, creates suffering. That is why the Stoics poured their energies into mastering the inner world. You may not always be able to decide what occurs, but you can always decide what you perceive. But that is where harshness seeps in. Deciding how you view pain isn't simple. It demands discipline, alertness, and persistent practice. You will stumble, you will collapse, you will blaspheme the heavens and ask why. That is being human. The Stoics understood this. They asked not for perfection, but for effort. Each time you redefine suffering, each time you get up rather than fall down, each time you opt for perspective over despondency, you become stronger, and strength, being a muscle, only develops under tension. Reflect on your own life. The times that made you, hardened you, provided you with wisdom. Were those easy times? Were they the painful times, you know? Pain changed you, and if you allow it, it will change you again. This is the Stoic way, not to eradicate pain, but to alchemize it, to transform suffering into wisdom, to transform rejection into clarity, to transform heartbreak into love for life itself. Pain is the rough material, strength is the carving, and you are both the artisan and the stone. One of the harshest truths the Stoics embraced is this: pain will visit you again and again. It is not a one-time enemy to defeat, but a lifelong companion, and the sooner you stop wishing it away, the sooner you learn to walk with it, the freer you become. Most people spend their lives running from loss, from rejection, from fear, from heartbreak, but the pain gets worse with running. The Stoics took another route. Instead of running away, they faced it head on. Imagine Epictetus, born a slave, his body shattered by cruelty. He might have been shipwrecked on the rocks of bitterness, lived in despair. Instead, he emerged a philosopher whose words guide millions of people today. His suffering did not crush him, it became his ground. Why? Because he decided to confront it. He decided to turn towards the wound rather than away from it. That is the key to Stoic resilience. Another truth: pain makes you release illusions. We hold on to things as if they will never end: relationships, possessions, health, even time itself. But when pain takes them away, you must acknowledge reality for what it is, and in that honesty, there is freedom. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every day that even the emperors who came before him were no longer around, their names forgotten and turned to dust. If even conquerors and kings are wiped out by time, how much more silly are we to assume anything is permanent? Pain will tell you this, not kindly, not gently, but honestly. And yet, here is the paradox. The more you embrace impermanence, the more profoundly you start to value it. When you understand that nothing lasts, everything is precious suddenly. A conversation with a friend, the sun's warmth, the ring of laughter. Suffering tears away illusions, but in exchange, it leaves you gratitude. And gratitude is a strength that turns weakness into resilience. The Stoics also understood this. Pain creates discipline. When you can face adversity without shattering, you hone your will. You become a master of yourself, and self-mastery is the only real freedom. Imagine a boxer training in a gym. Each punch, each bruise, each drop of sweat is suffering. But that suffering makes him a man who can face even harder fights. Your life follows the same principle. Each suffering trial is preparing for what is ahead. But here is the cruel truth of all. Pain is unfair. It doesn't visit equally. There are some born into lives full of suffering, and others who appear to live in comfort. The Stoics did not ignore this. They didn't assume the world was fair, but they thought justice didn't lie in what happens to you. It lay in how you react. If something hurts, then overcoming it is stronger. To make injustice into dignity, cruelty into kindness, suffering into wisdom, this is the Stoic victory. And when you accept those truths, suffering no longer is your adversary. It is your teacher, your friend, your fire. You no longer ask, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" You no longer view yourself as a victim and start viewing yourself as a warrior, because suffering will come again and again. But if you learn from it, if you conquer it, it will not destroy you. It will make you. The brutal Stoic realities are not intended to console you. They are intended to make you ready to peel away illusions, excuses, and weakness, leaving only strength. Because one day, ready or not, life will challenge you. And at that moment, you will find out what sort of individual you actually are. The last and most violent Stoic truth is this: life itself is brief, and suffering is the evidence. Every hurt, every broken heart, every loss is a reminder that your time here is short. Most people live as if they will live forever, delaying dreams, ignoring relationships, frittering away their days on trivialities. But pain shatters the delusion. It says, barely above a whisper, "You do not live forever." And that whisper, if you pay attention, can set your soul on fire. Marcus Aurelius bore this awareness with him all the time. He put in his journal, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." It was not an invitation to despair, but to exigency, to live with a ferocity, to cease drifting through life in a sleep, walking state, to act, to love, to create, to suffer, with the knowledge that each day is a gift and a countdown. The Stoics never refused pain. They accepted it. They made it firewood, fuel for resilience. And that is where metamorphosis occurs. Pain undresses you, but it also hones you. It compels you to make a decision: will you remain broken, or you will get up stronger? Consider your own life. The rejection that shattered you, the loss that emptied you, the failure that questioned everything. It was unbearable then. But now, do you see it? Do you see how it chiseled you into someone harder, wiser, and deeper? Do you see how the exact thing you believed would destroy you ended up constructing you? That is the Stoic path. To not view pain as a curse, but as a forge. Epictetus, who was once a slave, instructed emperors. Marcus Aurelius, weighed down with unimaginable tragedies, governed with wisdom. Seneca, surrounded by deceit, penned words that continue to empower millions. Their lives attest to the truth. Pain is not the end. Pain is the beginning. So when life hurts you, and it will, remind yourself, you are not broken. You are not helpless. You are not a victim. You are the flame that transmutes agony into strength. The Stoics lived and died on this principle, and now it belongs to you. Because pain will never cease, but neither will your courage. And every time you survive, every time you get back up, every time you turn agony into insight, you confirm it. You confirm that nothing can destroy you. Not rejection, not heartbreak, not loss, not even death itself. The brutal Stoic realities don't guarantee comfort. They guarantee change. And if you adopt them, if you allow them to transform you, then no matter what hurricanes hit you, you will not merely survive. You will emerge stronger than you ever were before.